So, welcome to the show, guys. Hi there, business owners, directors, and marketeers. In today's show, I'm meeting Adam Broadway from PlatformOS, and he's going to talk with me all about his experience in the SaaS world and his current business. I want to introduce you, Adam, a little bit more because Adam has been building and actually exiting two tech companies already. His last one to Adobe in 2009, and now he is laser focused on helping companies to build marketplaces for people, products, places, and projects, which is his current company, PlatformOS, that we're going to be talking about today. So it's empowering enterprises and entrepreneurs to build basically their MVP from MVP to a global scale. And I'm going to dive into the product with Adam quite a bit today to fully understand what it's all about. On the personal side, he has 6 boys. 6, yes, you heard correctly, a big family there who keep him on his toes. And he's also a loving paraglider and climbing in the mountains with his fiancée Shannon. So, Adam, I really appreciate you coming to the show. Welcome here today.
Thanks for having me, Lucas. Appreciate it.
Cool. So tell us about PlatformOS. What is it all about?
So my previous company, and you mentioned the exit with Adobe, was a SaaS product. I love the intro that you mentioned as far as PathMonk and getting from a 2% up to 40+% conversion. That's critical and something that we were able to master in my last SaaS company. And so Business Catalyst was a product that was an all-in-one solution for web designers, digital marketing agencies, internet consultants, and developers to build a website for their clients. Mm-hmm. Content management, email marketing, blogs, forums, customer service tools, e-commerce, all in one. And in building that company, we didn't have the we didn't have the availability of infrastructure as a service. So we actually built our own infrastructure in co-locations, places like Equinix and other places. Yep. And so we had a bare metal racks with servers experience when we built that previous company. Fast forward 2009, we exited. Adobe acquired that company. Things got migrated to Amazon Web Services. And during my time at Adobe, I saw that the next evolution in the online experience was to go down the stack and commoditize not just infrastructure as a service, but to create a platform operating system on which other companies could build their SaaS products. And in particular, saw that the shift towards the marketplace economy was gathering a lot of steam, and it wasn't just a fad. You know, the future of work, distributed teams, and you and I talk about our teams being distributed, and also consignment-based work, being able to have people, products, physical products and digital products in a marketplace context. The social media sites like LinkedIn, which is more business focused, Facebook, which is hobbyists and family focused. These are all architectured communities that are many to many. So the polymorphic models that are around that were not sufficiently catered for in the old solutions like WordPress, Magento, Volutions. There's a plethora of commoditized e-commerce and blog solutions. So PlatformOS was built from the ground up to allow developers to build any polymorphic many-to-many environment. So that lends itself to marketplaces. It lends itself to building other SaaS products. We have a team out of the UK who are now, they have a whole SaaS product where thousands and thousands of websites are being built on their content management system that PlatformOS powers. So that's kind of the journey. Building infrastructure to host our previous SaaS business, now building a platform that allow other developers to build their SaaS products on top.
Very good. You mentioned other developers there. Could you characterize a little bit the types of people, the types of folks that are benefiting most and would be the main types of users for PlatformOS?
Yeah, so it's a great question. It's a good cross-section of those who are anybody from a front-end developer who's used to using Angular or Node or There's some great new frameworks in CSS like Tailwind and others, Vue, etc. So anybody familiar with those frameworks, Bootstrap, etc., can jump in and start building on PlatformOS. There are others who are building drag and drop. What you see is what you get, CMSs and e-commerce solutions on top of us. So we have partners like SiteGlide doing that. And then there's the others who are the back-end developers who want to build their own models, relationships, and API endpoints. So we have GraphQL baked in, being able to deploy a model and have an API endpoint that you define in GraphQL mutations, also catered for. We commoditize all the DevOps, and we're multi-cloud support. So whether it's AWS or Google Cloud or Azure, we're able to deploy and take care of all of the DevOps. So those who are developers and sick of dealing with DevOps, and also concerned that they might get painted into an infrastructure corner, like, hey, I'm using all of AWS's API endpoints, and now we can't move. Yep. We're taking care of that layer as well. So everyone from front-end developers right through to back-end, and that sweet spot in the middle are those who enjoy coding high-performant, highly scalable, elegant sites that aren't just for web, but also for IoT, native apps, and the future of the web, voice and video. So APIs for everything. That's our approach.
Very interesting. So we're describing very specific user groups, obviously, there that have, very specific set of problems until they arrive, and PlatformOS being the solution for them. How would they find you? How do they usually find you in those cases?
That's a really good question. We have not been doing any marketing up to now, and probably won't until early next year. Our growth has come through word of mouth. We do have some long tail keyword strategies that we have around our article and content writing. So we're getting organic and word of mouth coming in, but we have not specifically targeted our audience in a formalized marketing approach. That said, who would be our ideal target? I don't know if you ever came across The Deck. Are you familiar with The Deck?
To be honest there, no, I haven't actually.
So The Deck was a consortia of, they brought in, it was a great advertising platform before they got acquired and kind of disappeared. And we would use The Deck because that would get our very laser focused, targeted marketing in front of our audience, being web designers, digital marketing agencies, internet consultants, and developers. And this is in the previous company. And so The Deck was awesome. So SitePoint would be an example of who we'd go after. Being able to do targeted video ads to web designers, web developers in LinkedIn. Being able to go after the Shopify and Magento channel partners. So those are the focused areas where we will be going after. We support liquid markup. We have a true marketplace engine, which with Magento end of lifing on that open source version now that Adobe acquired them, will be interesting to see what the channel partner community will do there. So our focus in the new year will be through those channels.
Very, very interesting. Maybe a question that is sort of, I would say, under the nails of many people who are starting off. Like, how would you have gotten to the first 10 customers using the platform?
Two approaches in that strategy. One is enterprise clients. We have Intel, Hallmark, DB Schenker, a great German logistics company, the largest independent logistics company in the world. In fact, we have UiPath, the fastest growing tech company in history based on annual recurring revenue growth. So they're all big companies that are using our platform, and they've been, again, through a very targeted relationship building and word of mouth. So going to an event where we were able to speak at that event through our thought leadership on how to build a successful marketplace. That would then get a conversation with somebody who was a decision maker in a large organization. Now, that doesn't give you massive scale, and a lot of companies whose only focus is on enterprise understands the the length of time in a sales cycle for enterprise can be very long. And how do you augment that? Well, that's where our channel partner program comes in. So being able to get those 10 customers on the enterprise side, long sales cycle, very dedicated in the relationship building, whereas focusing in on channel partners, web designers, digital marketing agencies, and others, I've had the luxury of being able to tap into a network that I've developed over 20 years in the industry. So we were able to get in front of hundreds and hundreds of passionate web designers and agencies to jump on board and start building on our platform a couple of years ago. So we didn't have to try too hard to get those. But for those listening, it's about going to the right events and understanding who your ideal target audience is. And you can't be all things to all people. So you've got to work out what problem you're solving and who is the ideal customer that respects what you're doing, the value you provide, and is willing to pay for it. And oftentimes is we work with customers who don't appreciate any of those things. And that might be good during a research and development phase of your business growth to validate that you are delivering value, but then very quickly you need to find customers who value it enough to pay for it. That's a difficult bridge to cross.
Very good answer. I'm curious, maybe one smaller follow-up on that, because you mentioned the channel partners. How would you evaluate channel partners? Because, there can be a lot of effort going into that. And then, how do you evaluate them?
I love the channel partner business model. I'm passionate about it. It is in my blood, because channel partners are those whose lives depend on the services you provide them for them to then provide their clients, the end customer. So how do we identify those? They're a community of practice. So I delineate, and this is true for marketplaces in general, a community of practice are people who are practitioners in that craft. So accountants that are certified practicing accountants, they're practitioners. Lawyers, they've come out through their education process, they've got a certificate that says they're a lawyer, they're probably going to spend the rest of their lives doing that. A practitioner is somebody who's wakes up in the morning going, this is my practice. And a community of practice are those whose livelihoods depend on that skill set. So when you identify communities of practice, and often this is where SitePoint is great, people are involved in the content, reading the content from there, subscribing to that newsletter, which is why for us, advertising through a site like SitePoint makes sense, because it gets us to that audience. With your products and services, for those listening, if they can identify where the communities of practice sit, that's where they should focus. The communities of interest, they're the hobbyists, they're the wannabes, they're the ones who can take it or leave it, the tire kickers. They usually hang out in Facebook groups versus a true community where it's members only. And you have to prove your qualifications or pay some money to be part of that community. And that's where membership-based organizations are another great proxy for identifying who your target audience is. In fact, in America, there's the Association of Associations. So if you have an association, generally they're people that are paying dues to be part of that association, whether they're builders, plumbers, butchers, bakers, or candlestick makers. And so if you're part of an association, you're willing to put money down, chances are that that's your livelihood. If you're in a Facebook group and you're also distracted by the latest cat photos that come up in your feed and you go down the rabbit hole and you're arguing about ideology, that's not where I want to be, personally or professionally. And so I'll go and focus on those associations, those communities of practice. So hope that answers the question.
Very much so, very much so. Very interested, and really like that you've sort of explored this field there very in depth. Maybe one last question on this would be, how would you ensure training? So if you go through those channel partners and then you want to deliver consistent product knowledge that is continuously updating, how do you manage this?
Well, we're very blessed to have an incredible internal team that focuses purely on documentation. In fact, just 2 months ago, we won an award from the UK Technical Writers Society, a 30-year plus organization who awarded our documentation site, documentation.platformos.com, because of our commitment to our developer portal. And we're not perfect, but our process includes collaboration from the community. Everything is documentation as code. So all of our documentation through GitHub allows contributions from outside assistants. Those contributors are given kudos and credit. We also make sure that internally, when a developer develops a feature, part of the QA process is, where's the documentation for this? Not only where's the test coverage, but where's the documentation for this, so that it becomes part of the deploy process, includes a link in our release notes that has documentation. That's really critical. If you're not doing that, how are your channel partners and how are the developers that are going to build on your platform going to learn and how to apply best practice? And some of the feedback we've got recently is on when we deprecate stuff. How do we manage deprecation properly? Well, there's one thing to have a message that comes back to the developer, this is now deprecated, you might want to consider this, but there's another thing to remove the documentation entirely, and instead of removing the documentation, note that it's deprecated. So have that history. So that's good feedback we've had from our community.
Very cool. I want to switch gears slightly. I would like to talk a little bit about the PlatformOS website. Like, could you tell me, in the mix of sort of the steps, your strategy, what role does the actual website play in that?
Right now, almost zero. In fact, we would say that the PlatformOS website is more of a hindrance than a help. We are currently rebranding from Near-Me Marketplaces to PlatformOS, and the new branding has not been applied, nor the user journeys on non-technical, semi-technical, and very technical channel partner sign up. So they're the three different categories that we have our channel partners assigned to, and none of that's gone live. So the current PlatformOS website is not a reflection at all on our own. We tell people how to do it properly, and yet, the plumber with the dripping tap. We don't have our website currently geared towards a proper sign up and onboarding process, but that is changing. We have an active project, and our team are champing at the bit to get the new site live and to have that very focused approach to the non-technical, semi-technical, and very technical channel partner onboarding.
Very cool. So people can be watching out for the new page
Absolutely.
arriving.
That's right. Exactly. In fact, it might be live up now. And if it's not resonating with the viewer who is looking at platformos.com right now, you can certainly reach out to me directly and say, hey, that sucks. Fix that. I would love to get feedback.
Very good. So very open for feedback there. Cool. To finish up this area of the partners that we've been talking to, just curious, what is then the best way right now if somebody would be interested, the channel partner, what would be a good way to get in touch with your team then?
Well, definitely the website. There is a contact form, so platformos.com, and just talk to sales or contact us. It will go into a workflow, and our channel partner manager will be reaching out to connect with you. And if it's an enterprise client who's wanting to build the next version of whatever, Facebook or Etsy or Amazon for their own niche, we can also direct that.
Very cool. Yeah. So as we're slowly coming to an end of the conversation, I would be very curious to ask you something a bit more from a personal side, as a founder, having gone through 2 companies already built and exited. What would be an advice that you would give yourself if you would zoom yourself back to, when you started the first company? What would be something now, 2 companies in, the next in the making? What would be the advice that you would give yourself?
Well, the most successful company exit that I had, which was Business Catalyst, exited to Adobe 2009. We bootstrapped. We didn't take any funding, so it was an amazingly awesome exit. One of the biggest learnings that I got was an incredible co-founder, somebody who is in the foxhole with you, who you can, hug and cry it out over a beer together on a Friday night, while after, something dramatic happened. Incredible co-founder and amazing team is critical. But I think single founder owners really struggle. Maybe there are some that get away with it, but ultimately I think they do have mentors and people behind them to succeed. Steve Jobs was not on his own. He had great co-founders. They were just in the background a little bit. So co-founder is critical. And someone who's got an ethical approach to business, somebody who is looking for the rewards later on. And that's been hugely valuable to me. One of the things I've found in Silicon Valley, and one of the little tongue-in-cheek words I use for Silicon Valley is silicon. It's a bit silly and it's a bit of a con. I'm here amongst it. I've seen it all. It's a bit of a crazy town. There is this approach to fake it till you make it. Go and raise a bunch of money. And that can work for some people, but I think fundamentally, if you've got a longer term view, you work hard on your business, you focus purely on your customers, and they're the customers that are willing to pay, and understand that it's going to take longer and cost more money than you anticipate, you won't be disappointed at the end. The flash in the pan business ideas here, people are raising shed tons of money on the dumbest ideas. And if you're needing to be in Silicon Valley because your customers are here, awesome, great. Build a business, and if you're in Silicon Valley because your customers are here, great. If you're here because you need some money, great, get the money and then run for the hills. Go to where your customers are. Go where your customers are. That's where you need to be. So, little rant on my heart, on my behalf.
No, very good, very good. Maybe one small follow-up on that before we're sort of closing up for today. Zooming back into that time when you were building up this business Bootstrapped, how did you guys keep yourself afloat? Like, did you have revenue from the very beginning? What was very practical insights into that?
Yeah, we did start in Australia, and Australia, the VC community, at least then, was useless. We did try to raise some money early days, but we would have got better terms from the bank, and that's actually what we ended up doing, maxing out our credit cards. And in fact, I was getting food parcels from the local church at one point because all the money would go into paying staff and infrastructure costs before putting food on the table for the family. So we struggled. And one of the things I think that we learned was that, you've got to find customers who are willing to pay. And we had cash flow. If we could have raised money earlier, it would have helped us accelerate faster. But looking back, I think we did it because we were very pragmatic in the way that we evaluated each request for features. How does this help move the needle? Will this be something that's scalable and others will use, or is it just because of this one screaming client? And you've got to make the hard choices to go, okay, well, we're going to have to not do that because that will distract, create some technical debt, and not give us value. And we might have to lose that client. And we did that early days. Not the right fit for, you got to sack your clients in some cases. But we were able to identify the right combination of functionality that the 80% would always use. And we did that quickly enough to be able to get recurring revenues, some paid work, and that kept the lights on. And then we had a lot of money coming through the door and a big fat war chest at the end of our run. And we look back and go, we should have spent some of that money a little bit, but we wanted to have a warehouse of grain in case the drought happened. And that's an Australian view of it. Over here in Silicon Valley, it's let's take everybody else's money, burn through it, and okay, we can go and raise again. I just don't feel comfortable with that myself. I don't have that approach to business.
Very cool, Adam. I really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you guiding us a little bit through your journey of companies and your current endeavors. So, Adam, thanks for being part of the show today.
Thank you, Lucas. And feel free, anybody, to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to share my additional thoughts.